Here's another disclaimer before we start. I feel like shit because I just went through one of those new advanced flus that turn your organs into liquid shit. So I kind of look like him. Just kind of a heads up. Also, a third disclaimer. Maybe we're just going to do disclaimers all day today. I'm still trying to figure out how best to utilize this microphone. So it's really close right now. I'm Mr. X, this is the Extreme Channel, and today we are reviewing another new piece to the Extreme Collection. This is by XM Studios. This is 1/4 scale Red Skull. I'm pretty excited because he was a little bit of an impulse buy based off some Black Friday stuff. And I purchased him because I want him to go with my evil Captain America setup. Here's a picture. Actually, you know what? I'm going to show the picture at the end. That'll force you to watch the whole fucking time. So I'm going to put him with my Captain America Secret Empire, which is an evil version of Captain America, and my Crossbones. So I'll show a picture of that at the end. And really excited because he retailed originally for 990 Singapore dollars. XM Studios is based out of Singapore, which is about 750 US dollars. I got him for hundreds less than that. So really cool, really exciting that I got him for such a steal. And he's kind of an underrated piece, because he's such an underrated character. Now, if you don't know about Red Skull, God, I need to film like 5 reviews today, by the way, and so anything I'm wearing a Nuggets shirt and I look like shit, it's because I just got through this virus that I thought was going to kill me. And on a side note, I'm not really afraid to die. It doesn't bother me. I don't want to die by any means, but there's not much that scares me. The only thing that scares me is Kaiser Soze. But, some info about Red Skull. So, Red Skull, before he was Red Skull, actually, long time ago, he was in charge of the elves. Lord Elrond in charge of the elves, and eventually he moved on, and he became Red Skull. Red Skull has a number of abilities. He actually is telepathic. He can project himself astrally. In the movie that he was portrayed, Captain America, the first Avenger, he showed his skills as being a genius and a lot of strength, like Captain America, kind of the super soldier serum aspect to him. And then after he was Red Skull, he actually became the One in the Matrix. And this is a common misconception. Most people think that Keanu Reeves played the One. He was not the One. Agent Smith was the One. And, you know, Agent Smith was part of the prophecy to bring balance to everything. Damn, that's familiar. Anyway, also an interesting note, Matrix 4 was just announced this past week. Isn't that nuts? Come up with something new, fucking Hollywood. Oh, by the way, check out Extreme Topics. Why doesn't Hollywood come out with anything new? We talk about that subject. But anyway, back to Red Skull. So he was obviously around during the World War II. He worked for Hydra, which is kind of like the superpower version of the Nazis, and I think they did a great job encompassing it with this statue. Let me do some measurements for you guys. So with this part right here, which is removable, we're going to talk about, it's just over 29 inches wide. He is about 13 inches deep, or see how sick I am, 29 inches tall, 13 inches wide, and 11.5 inches deep. And he has a lot of display options we're going to talk about in concept and design. I also took pictures as I unboxed him while I was dying of this sickness a day or two ago, but I accidentally deleted them, so you can't see them. But he has tons and tons of different pieces we'll talk about as well. But a few things he did come with, and I think this is supposed to be in the design part of the video, but I just don't care. First, he has instructions, directions on how to put them together, as most XM Studios pieces. And on this channel, what do we say about directions? That's right, they're for people who can't think for themselves. Then he came with an art print, which we haven't looked at yet. And traditionally, XM's art prints are always very similar to the statue pose. So, is it upside down? It's probably upside down. It's always upside down. And this is certainly the case here. I never display the art prints. I did my very first XM Studios statue, which was years and years ago. It's actually still hanging in my son's room with tacks in it, so that kind of destroyed it. But they always do this stupid little white box on the bottom, and this is much older, so. Now, this piece was made years ago, way before Endgame ever came out, or Infinity War ever came out, so we didn't know that Red Skull would reappear in the MCE, but he did. Be cool if they had a switch out. That cloaked version of him looks pretty cool. We're going to rate him using the extreme scale. If you don't know what that is, go back and check some other videos, but it's a 1 through 5, 1 being the worst, which is a T, and the hell are they doing? Moving around furniture? And 5 being the best, which is an X. And we're going to start with concept. We always talk about the concept, and what I mean concept is, was this a good idea to make the statue the way it was? You know, is he in a diorama fight versus someone else? Did they encompass what the character's about? Is it cool? And with this piece, I think they did a great job on the concept. Red Skull, you really want to tie back to the fact that he's kind of the Hitler of the superhero world. And they did that with this old antique base, and it shows Hydra symbol right on the front. And one of the things you're going to see throughout the review, I think Hydra symbol is shown in 7 or 8 different places. So very good branding for Hydra. And as you move up, there's some really cool elements going on. You can't see it now, but the bottom of this base, or the top of the bottom, has a map of the world. He's sitting there very proud in his full getup. His, you know, I'm not in the military, but I know you have dress military clothes. That's what he's in, his top-notch military ones. A little bit of wind flowing with his jacket and belt. He has his guns, 3 or 4 different weapons, then his staff behind him, which you're going to see. The Tesseract Cube is there, which is also one of the Infinity Stones, but that was the source of his power. Not the source of his power, but what he tried to attain. And he's sitting there very proud, and tons of Hydra stuff going on. I think they captured the concept of him very well. It's a museum pose, which means he's posing for a picture. The few different switch outs we're going to look at doesn't really change the concept at all. But if I'm thinking of a Red Skull, this is what I'm thinking of. It captures the whole World War thing. It captures his dominance over mankind. It doesn't really showcase his power, but that's very hard to do. You don't see that with Captain America too often. He's mostly in a museum pose. So I give the concept on this a W. I think it's a rail. They did a great job. It's encompassing Red Skull altogether. Now we're going to move on to design, and design's also going to have some equally good parts. So first of all, everything went together really well. No issues. The instructions weren't even needed as usual. There is a ton of parts for this. I wish I would have not accidentally deleted that picture because there's tons of pieces. So the base minus this piece that's holding the Tesseract, and then obviously the Tesseract up here. And there's 2 Tesseracts it came with. I'm not sure why. On the back, these spindles are another piece. The flag is another piece. On Red Skull, this knife hanging from a mixed media chain is another piece. His belt loops in the front. His jacket on the bottom that flows in the wind, these are actually separate pieces. You can't even tell, though, because they did such a great job. His arms are separate pieces, as they're switch outs we're going to look at in a second. And his portrait is another piece. So let's look at those switch outs. First, you have 2 different portraits, and I really like how they're completely different. One is the one you originally saw. He's right here, and he has his hat on, his mouth closed, standing at attention. To me, it almost feels like he's very accomplished. People are maybe worshiping him or following him. All of his soldiers are in line. And we're going to do close-up reviews of the paint and sculpt. But the other portrait, he doesn't have his hat on. Shows more of his skull head. And he's laughing his ass off. And I like this option as well. I don't think I'm going to display it by any means because I think it's a little small. That's not what she said. But very, very cool option. Now his right arm, you can have him holding the gun as you saw him originally displayed, kind of holding it back. And an interesting note, I think this gun works much better with the first portrait we looked at. And I'm going to show the 2 different display options side by side. Or the other one, you can have his hand out and him holding the Tesseract. So definitely a cool option. And as I said, I think this works with him laughing. Like he has the power. He's really accomplished everything. And here's pictures of both of those side by side. And of course, you can always mix and match, but if I was going to display it, I would do it one of these two ways. Now, those are the switch out options, but there's other options to display this bastard. First, as we talked about, this right here, the flag, was another piece. So you can just remove it because this actually may be too tall. My cabinet is like 28 3/4 and this is 29 inches. So we'll find out if it fits or not. If not, I'm going to have to remove it even though I really like it. So here's a picture of it with the flag. And here's a picture without the flag. And then also the Tesseract stand, if you have him holding the Tesseract, you can actually remove the stand. Here's a picture without the Tesseract stand. Then here's a picture with the Tesseract stand. And certainly you could still have the stand with him holding the Tesseract. But one cool thing the stand does actually is there is a light up feature that makes the Tesseract light up. Check this out. And then the Tesseract not lit up. So certainly a lot of variety of great display options here, and I'm really impressed they did that. I think it's smart. You could technically remove the bottoms of his coat, but it just doesn't look the best. The one negative I'm going to say about this piece is, he's not an amazing character or a well-liked character, so they went a lot into the base, which is smart. I think that's very smart design, very smart concept. This is too tall. It's too tall. The advantage of that, though, if you want to do a pro and a con, is you can put him behind some other pieces. And again, it kind of elevates him to that concept we're talking about, that people are worshiping him and he's at the top of the world. So honestly, I'm having trouble finding much wrong with this design. And I think the design is a W as well. I think it's a 4 out of 5. Very smart, which really surprises me because this piece doesn't go for much. And maybe, like we talked about earlier, it's because there's not a lot to companion with it. Now we're going to jump into the paint and sculpt, and this is a few years older by XM Studios, who knocks it out of the park. It's good. It's nothing amazing, but it is the best Red Skull statue out there that I know of. As always, we're going to talk about the paint and sculpt together, and then we will rate them separately at the end. So let's start at this base, and as I said, there's a lot going on, and I love it. It's so many different aspects to look at. At the front here, you got a few different things going on. You have the Hydra symbol, which is kind of an octopus around a skull. When you cut off one head, two grow in its place. There's some good texture on it. I like the color they use, this maroon, red, purplish color. And it contrasts really well on the black circle behind it of the symbol. And then the whole base here has this green, grayish hint to it, and I like it. I think the base could have used more texture. The whole statue could have used more texture. You're going to see that on the costume as well. A few different breaks, a few different intricate designs. One cool thing on the sides of it, and both sides are the same, you have this almost like a cathedral or church type window with, again, some purple, very similar to the purple color of the Hydra octopus on the front. And then inside of it, I don't know if you can tell in the pictures, those are actually skulls. Tons and tons of skulls, assumably dead bodies. Very cool. Then on the back, which you'll never see, you have the Hydra symbol again carved into it, cracked up. Very cool Easter egg here. It looks good. And moving up on the back, you see these spindles that have some skulls on the large portion of it. Very cool, and it's that same purplish color. There's a lot of contrast to this statue with the colors that make it pop. Looks really good. Big fan of this. And then here's a picture of the top of the base. I took the picture before I put Red Skull on because I suspected I wouldn't be able to get a good picture. And as I'm saying that, I remember that's one of the ones I deleted. So you're not seeing that. You're just seeing a partial version of it. But he has the entire world carved into it. Really cool feature. Tiny Easter egg. Again, just adds to that concept we were talking about. And the top here, these different brick inlay stones, there's some blacks mixed into that green and gray colors. But it looks good. I think the texture is the right amount here. Let's look at the Tesseract stand. Very, very neat. Some intricate designs. It's on this metallic plated metal, and then this brown almost reminds me of like a newer car. Some of the details they add into that. This dark texturized, I don't know what it's supposed to be, but it's neat. The Tesseract cube looks great. I actually have 2 other custom Tesseract cubes to put with my Thanos on Throne and Doom on Throne, which I'm reviewing Thanos on Throne next week because I'm getting a custom piece in for it. Let's look at the flag really quick. Flag looks great. It is mixed media. It is material. That and the chain that we're going to see on his knife are the only mixed media on this piece. But I like it. Like I said, I really hope that it fits into my section. I like the red. Makes it pop. It's a different color than his skull. Then let's move to Red Skull. And he's very average. And I mean that in a good thing. He's not bad. But his boots, standard military style boots of the time period. Pure blacks. There's a few folds in them. Some straps around them. Some seam lines. No texture at all. Or some very little texture, I guess, on the upper part of the boot, but nothing that's amazing. Then you come to his pants. Again, this is his clean fatigues, or not fatigues, but his clean uniform. So there's no tears or dirt. A tiny bit of texture in here. They're all rolled up where he has them tucked into his boots. Some folds down the front of it. Looks good. Then as you move up to his torso, his uniform, he has tons of pockets. Again, very clean, not very wrinkled at all, not too many folds, no texture really. Not only the pockets, but you see the buttons over the top with straps. His holster, the knife we were talking about, has another Hydra seal on it. His belt has the Hydra symbol on it. Then moving up, you see, he has his suit buttoned up in his tie. The paint job's a little sloppy up here. Not really a huge fan. You've seen these deep green hues, which I really like. Reminds me, like I said, just the formal military aspect of it and the time period. But the tie and the white collared shirt have a few, could be a little bit more cleaner on the paint. Let's look at his jacket. And, really a good shot is from the back. That's what she said. It flows well. I like it. And again, very clean. Very, very clean. Not a lot going on. Look at his arm here. You see another Hydra symbol. His clothes are really too big for him. And maybe that's symbolized because he's a skeleton. I don't know what his body looks like, but I assume it's the same as his face. Take a look at his glove here. I love his gloves, how they pop, they shine, like I said. For the 4th time, I know I'm saying this, but really clean uniform. One thing I think that's a little bit of a shame is his cane that he's holding here is awesome. It's really intricate, especially the handle and the skull and the silver, and it's behind him, so you never see it. Like I said, this is really a piece that, when displayed from all different angles, it looks great. But let's look at his gun, close-up of his gun. Again, great job on the glove, just like before. I love that shine. He has a ring on it, but the gun, great detail. I'm not a weapons expert, especially of weapons of that time, but I assume it's accurate. And while we're up here, one of the things we missed, there's another Hydra seal at the top of the flag, not only on the flag. As I said earlier, 7 or 8 different places the Hydra seal is displayed here. Then let's move on to his portrait. First, let's look at his laughing portrait. I think they did a great job with his portraits. This looks really good. It looks like a real human skull with kind of skin and flesh on it, muscle. They really did a nice job on the sculpt, showing that it's a skull with the dark red, not incredibly dark, but red flesh tones. His eyes look okay. They look painted on. I'm really digging his open mouth on this. There's some great detail in his teeth and his tongue. It almost looks like there's veins running everywhere. And you see that on the other portrait as well. Again, just fantastic job really showing that red skull aspect. I love the tones they used in here for the red. Same criticism about his eyes, but I love his teeth in this one as well where they connect. Check out his hat. I wish they would have given his hat some texture. There's some red and green and black on it. And very clean. No folds or anything like that. Again, this is his well-to-do uniform. Maybe he just conquered the world. So as I look at this, the paint and sculpt, I can't find anything wrong with it. It's just very, I don't want to say boring, but it's very plain. It just doesn't wow you by any means. So for me, I'm just going to, actually I will grade both of them together. I think the paint and sculpts are V. They're very nice. And if you're doing the math, that means he got 2 W's and 2 V's. And really the overall aspect, when I rate a statue, Cody, it's my opinion at the time. So it could change from day to day. But I'm just going to have to give this guy, I think overall he's almost a W, but he's not really a rail. He's very nice. He's a V. He's a very nice piece, especially for the price he goes for. And if you have some pieces you can companion him with. I'm very happy to have him. And now that we're towards the end of the review, let's take a look and see what he looks like. So you guys are traveling into the future, and hopefully this looks fantastic. This was my plan all along. He is not going to permanently be in this cabinet, but he will be for probably a year or so. And then eventually he's going with my miscellaneous cabinet characters after I get rid of my video game characters down the road. So a very, very cool piece. Drop a comment, hit that like if you haven't, and a subscribe, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care. Don't go fuck yourself.